Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Part 3, Chapter 3. "Do you know I was thinking about you?" said Sergei Ivanovitch. "It is not well at all what is going on in your district, if that doctor tells the truth. He's not a stupid fellow. And I've told you all along, and I say today you are wrong in not going to the assembly meetings to know what they're doing. If men of standing don't take an interest in affairs, God knows how things will turn out. The taxes we pay will be spent in salaries, and not for schools, or hospitals, or midwives, or pharmacies, or anything." "But I've tried it," replied Levin faintly and unwillingly. "I can't do anything. What is to be done about it?" "Da, why can't you do anything? I confess I don't understand it. I cannot admit that it is incapacity or lack of intelligence. Isn't it simply laziness?" "It is not that, or the first, or the second. I have tried it, and I'm sure that I cannot do anything." Levin was not paying great heed to what his brother said, but was looking intently across the fields on the other side of the river. He saw something black, but he could not make out whether it was only a horse or his prikashik on horseback. "Why can't you do anything? You make an experiment, and it does not turn out to your satisfaction, and you give up. Why not have a little pride about yourself?" "Pride," said Levin, touched to the quick by his brother's reproach. "I don't see what this has to do with it. If at the university they had told me that others understood the integral calculus, but I did not, that would have touched my pride. But here I have first to believe in the value of these new institutions." "What, do you mean to say that they're not valuable?" asked Sergei Ivanovitch, piqued because his brother seemed to attach so little importance to his words, and gave him such poor attention. "It seems to me that they are useless, and I cannot feel interested in what you wish me to do," replied Levin, who now saw that the black speck was the prikashik, and that the prikashik was probably taking some muzhiks from their work. They were carrying home the plows. Could they have finished plowing, he asked himself. "No, listen, one thing," said his brother, his handsome intellectual face growing a shade darker. "There are limits to everything. It is very fine to be an original and outspoken man, and to hate falsehood. All that I know. But the fact is that what you say has no sense at all, or has a very bad sense. Do you really think it idle that these people whom you love, as you assert—" "Oh, I never asserted any such thing," replied Konstantin Levin. "That these people should perish without aid? Korsbabki act as midwives, and the people remain in ignorance and are at the mercy of every letter-writer. But it is within your power to remedy all this, and you don't assist them, because, in your eyes, it's not worth while." And Sergei Ivanovitch offered him the following dilemma. "Either you are not developed sufficiently to do all that you might do, or you do not care to give up your love of idleness, or your vanity. I don't know which." Konstantin Levin felt that if he did not wish to be convicted of indifference for the public weal, he would have to make a defense, and this was vexatious and offensive to him. "That's another thing," he said testily. "I do not see how it's possible." "What? Impossible to give medical aid if the funds were watched more closely?" "Impossible, it seems to me. In the 4,000 square versts of our district, with our floods, snowstorms, and busy seasons, I don't see the possibility of giving public medical aid. Besides, I don't much believe in medicine anyway." "No, nonsense, you are unjust. I could name you 1,000 cases. And schools." "Why schools? What do you say? Can you doubt the advantages of education? If it is good for you, why not for others?" Konstantin Levin felt that he was pushed to the wall, and in his irritation against his will he revealed his reason for his indifference. "Maybe it's a good thing, but why should I put myself out? Have medical dispensaries located which I never make use of, or schools where I should never send my children, or where the peasants won't send their children, and where I am not sure that it is wise to send them anyway." Sergei Ivanovitch for a moment was disconcerted by this sally, and, while carefully pulling his line from the water, he developed another line of attack. "No, this is absurd," said he with a smile. "In the first place, a dispensary is necessary. What, we ourselves sent for the Zemsky doctor for Agafya Mikhailovna. No, I believe that her wrist was out of joint in spite of what he said. That remains to be proved. In the next place, the muzhik who can read is a better workman and more useful to you. Oh, no, replied Konstantin Levin bluntly. Ask anyone you please, they will tell you that the educated muzhik is less valuable as a laborer. He will not repair the roads, and when they build bridges, he will only steal the planks. Now, this is not the point, said Sergei, vexed, because he detested contradiction, and this way of leaping from one subject to another and bringing up arguments without any apparent connection. The question is this. Do you admit that education is good for the peasantry? I do, said Levin, without realizing that he was not speaking the thought in his mind. Instantly he perceived that by making this admission it would be easy to convict him of speaking nonsense. How it would be brought up against him he did not know, but he knew that he would surely be shown his logical inconsequence, and he awaited the demonstration. It came much sooner than he expected. If you admit its value, said Sergei, then as an honest man you cannot refuse to delight in this work, and give it to your hearty cooperation. But I still do not admit that it is good, said Konstantin Levin in confusion. What, but you just said, that is, I don't say that it's bad, and that it is not advisable. But you can't know this, since you have not made any effort to try it. No, I admit that the education of the people is advantageous, said Konstantin, but without the least conviction. But I don't see why I should bother myself with it. Why not? No, if you were going to discuss the question, then explain it to me from your philosophical point of view. I don't see what philosophy has to do here, retorted Sergei Ivanovitch, in a tone which seemed to cast some doubt on his brother's right to discuss philosophy, and this netted him. That is why, he said warmly, I think that the motive power in all our actions is forever personal interest. Now, I see nothing in our provincial institutions that contributes to my well-being. The roads are not better, and cannot be made so. My horses carry me, even on bad roads. The doctor and dispensary are no use to me. The justice of the peace does me no good. I never went to him, and never expect to. The schools seem to me not only useless, but, as I have said, are even harmful, and these provincial institutions oblige me to pay 18 kopecks a desyatin, to go to the city, to be eaten by bugs, and to hear all sorts of vulgar and obscene talk, and yet do not in any way affect my personal interests. Nonsense, said Sergei Ivanovitch with a smile. Our personal interests did not compel us to work for the emancipation of the serfs, and yet we accomplished it. No, replied Konstantin with still more animation. The emancipation was quite another affair. It was for personal interest. We wanted to shake off this yoke that hung upon the necks of all us decent people, but to be a member of the town council, to discuss what only concerns smiths and how to lay sewer pipe in streets where one does not live, to be a juryman and sit in judgment on a muzhik who has stolen a ham, to listen for 6 hours to all sorts of rubbish which the defendant and the prosecutor may utter, and, as presiding officer, to ask my old friend, the half-idiotic Aloshka, do you plead guilty, Mr. Accused, of having stolen this ham? And Konstantin, carried away by his subject, enacted the scene between the president and the half-idiotic Aloshka, but seemed to him that it was in the line of the argument. But Sergei Ivanovitch shrugged his shoulders. No, what do you mean by this? I only mean that I will always defend with all my powers those rights which touch me, my interests, that when the policemen came to search us students and read our letters, I was ready to defend these rights with all my might, to defend my rights to instruction, to liberty. I am interested in the required service which concerns the fate of my children, of my brothers, and of myself. I am willing to discuss this because it touches me, but to deliberate on the employment of 40,000 rubles of district money, or to judge the crack-brained Aloshka, I won't do it, and I can't. Konstantin Levin discoursed as though the fountains of his speech were unloosed. His brother was quietly amused. Supposing tomorrow you were arrested, would you prefer to be tried by the old criminal court? But I shall not be arrested. I'm not a murderer, and this is no use to me. No, he continued, again jumping to a matter entirely foreign to the subject. Our provincial institutions and all that remind me of the little twigs which on Trinity Day we stick into the ground to imitate a forest. The forest has grown of itself in Europe, but I cannot on my soul have any faith in our birch sprouts or water them. Sergei Ivanovitch only shrugged his shoulders again, as a sign of astonishment that birch twigs should be mingled in their discussion, although he understood perfectly what his brother meant. Nonsense, said he, that's no way to reason. But Constantine, in order to explain his self-confessed lack of interest in matters of public concern, continued, I think that there can be no durable activity if it is not founded in individual interest. This is a general of philosophical truth, said he, laying special emphasis on the word philosophical, as though he wished to show that he also had the right, as well as anyone else, to speak of philosophy. Again, Sergei Ivanovitch smiled. He also, thought he, has his own special philosophy for the benefit of his inclinations. No, be quit of philosophy, he said. Its chief aim has been in all times to grasp the indispensable bond which exists between the individual and the public interest. But I think I can make your comparison valid. The little birch twigs have not been merely stuck in, but have been sowed, planted, and it is necessary to watch them carefully. The only nations which can have a future, the only nations which deserve the name of historic, are those which feel the importance and the value of their institutions, and prize them. And Sergei Ivanovitch, the better to show his brother what a mistake he had made, began to discuss the question from a historico-philosophical point of view, which Constantine was by no means able to appreciate. As to your distaste for affairs, excuse me if I refer it to a Russian indolence and gentility, and I trust that this temporary error will pass away. Constantine was silent. He felt himself routed on every side, but he felt also that his brother had not understood what he wished to say. He did not know exactly whether it was because he did not know how to express himself clearly, or because his brother did not wish to understand him, or whether he could not understand him. He did not try to fathom this question, but without replying to his brother, he became absorbed in entirely different thoughts, connected with his own work. Sergei Ivanovitch reeled in his lines, unhitched the horse, and they drove away.